Hello guys, welcome to my channel thenileshtech. In this video we will talk about file system structure and its description. We have a file system and each in Linux that is divided into different directories, and that's something that we have seen previously as well. So now I am going to take some time in this lecture to go over each file system partition or the folder or a directory that is set up in Linux, and I will explain you every directory in Linux file system and what is it used for. So I have listed down all the directories and I will go over them one by one based on how important they are. So the first one and the most important one that we have in the list is /boot. /boot is the file or is the directory that contains file used for bootloader, or the file that is in there is grub.cfg or configuration file. What happens is every time your system boots up, the first thing the operating system that needs to boot up is the system looks for /boot, and that is somehow hard coded in the disk. That you start up, go into /boot, and you will find what operating system you will need to start, whether it's an old operating system or a new one or an upgraded version. So it goes into the /boot file and it looks into it. By the way, I will go over each one of the directories in my Linux system and I will show you exactly what inside of each directory. Second one, we have /root. It is the root user home directory. Please remember, it is not the same as /. A lot of times people confuse /, which is also known as a root, but it is not actually /root. In the next videos I will cover the types of roots in Linux. So root, when you log into a system or Linux system as a root and you do pwd, you will see you will be in /root, not just /. Then we have /dev directory. This is a system device such as a disk, CD-ROMs, speakers, flash drives, keyboards, and any of those peripheral devices that are attached to your Linux system. They are also created as a file as well. They will show up in a /dev directory. Going and moving forward, in the next one is /etc. It is also one of the most important directories in Linux file system. It has all the configuration file if you are running and send mail, HTTP, or any kind of application that actually runs on top of your Linux system or that comes with the Linux system. All those configuration files are located in /etc. If I wanted to modify something on, let's say, DNS, I will go into /etc name.com file. If I want to modify something in the send mail, I will go into etc mail and sendmail.cf or that type of configuration file. So just remember that anytime you are making changes in /etc to any file inside of this directory, please make sure you make a backup first of that file before you modify the configuration file. Then we have a /bin. /bin is the newer version, has been changed to /user/bin. It is like a link to /user/bin, and it is actually the directory where we have the commands that are used by everyday user command like ls, pwd. This type of commands, all of them are in /user/bin directory. Then we have another directory called /bin, which is pointing or link to /user/sbin. This is the system file system commands. Those are the type of commands that you really need for system type of purposes. If you want to extend your file system or configure your file system, that will take a look again when I bring up my Linux machine. /opt is used for optional add-on applications. It is not the application for operating system apps like FTP or DNS. Those are the application that is actually come with the operating system. This /opt is not used for those type of applications. That is used for a third-party applications. Let's say if you are installing, let's say, Oracle or some other kind of application or SAP. Those are the applications usually and most of the time are installed in /opt. /proc is the directory that is used and create files for all the running processes. Please remember, when you shut down your Linux operating system, there will be a nothing in /proc. It will be empty. So the kernel, which I will explain to you later on what kernel is, but there is a program kernel in Linux that actually creates all these files for all the running programs in that directory. once system shutdowns, all those files go away. Lib, which is now pointing to user lib, it's a location where all the C programming library files and those files are needed for commands and applications. Meaning if you are running a command, let's say pwd or ls, all those commands actually do have libraries attached to it that they could go and look for it. And that's how these programs are run, because they are written in C and C++. If you wanted to know which library file is used for which command, you could use this command /e open pwd is the command. The next one we have /temp directory, the directory that is used for temporary files. It has no significance whatsoever, but you could just, if you want to create a file, a temporary file that you think you will be delete it later, you could create that in /temp directory. Then /home directory is used for regular users. If I creating a regular account on a Linux file system, let's say nkwale, my home directory will be created in /home. The next one we have is /var or /var. /var is used for system logs. Every time your operating system writes some output or some logs, all those logs or its applications logs will always go into /var. So if you are troubleshooting issues, you could always go into /var, /log or another directories where you could find information about a specific application or if something going wrong with it. Then we have /run. This is where the system daemon start up on very early stages. For example, systemd and udev to store a temporary runtime file like PID or process IDs files. And again, this will go away if the system is shut down. It's just to store those process ID and keep track on it. /mount is used to mount external file systems. If nothing is mounted on your existing file system, then you could use that /mount to create another subdirectory and mount an external NFS file system to it. /media is used for CD-ROMs. If your system has a CD-ROM drive and you put it a CD-ROM inside of it, then you could close the tray. That CD-ROM will be mounted under /media. If you are using a virtual machine, you map the virtual drive to your virtual machine. At that virtual ISO image will be shown under /media CD-ROM. So that's the list of all the directories that we have, the file system structure and its description. And now I am quickly going to go into my Linux system and I will show you exactly each one of them and how it is set up. So I am logged in as who am I will do root and I will cd into / and I will do ls-l. You see all these directories that I have just covered. So first one I have is boot. And if you notice in the boot there is the one directory grub2. I don't have grub. Your system may have two files, grub and grub2. If I go into grub2 and do ls-lrt, you will see there is grub configuration file. This is the file that telling the system which operating systems to start or which version of operating system to start. Let's go to /root. If I just hit cd and hit enter and do pwd, this is the root home directory. There is nothing much in there. Then when I go to /etc, this is the directory which has all the configuration files. Most of the files that you are going to see in this directory or the subdirectories, all of them would have .conf. So it means it has configuration files. Going to /bin, which is pointing to user bin. It has all the commands that we use everyday command to actually talk to the operating system. Same thing with sbin. This one has all the ones that deals primarily with your file system disk and extending the file systems. Then we have opt. You do ls-l and you will see this is the one that is used for third-party applications. Right now it has empty. Then we have proc, is the one that run all the running programs temporarily. It is not the actual file that will stay on the disk. Next one, library, and library has all the libraries files that are needed to run a simple command. Next one we have /temp, and you will see all these are temporary files. You delete them, you create new files. It doesn't really matter. It's just a scratch space that you could put your files on. Then you have /home. /home is for the users, like I have my user here. This is the home directory. The next one is /var or /var, and /var is used for all the logs that are created in your system. So if you primarily the main log is /var/log, and this is where all the logs are created. If something goes wrong with the system, this is where you have to come in. By the way, every one of these that I am going through, I will go through again later on, and you will get more and more familiar with these file systems and its directories and all the commands that I am running on. The next one we have /run. This is one that runs the system daemons very early in the stages, and it's a temporary file. The next one we have /mnt or /mount. This has probably nothing because I do not have any external file systems mounted on the file on this computer. So if I mount it, I will use command mount to file it, and usually it gets mounted in /mounted because you have to specify it, and that's where it goes. The last one we have the /media. If you have a CD mount, CD-ROM attached to your system, this is where it will go. This is what I wanted to cover in the file system structure and description. So thank you guys. I really hope that this video covers everything in terms of the file system and structure. Alright, if you are new to my channel, then please do subscribe. We have started a Linux series for beginners and advanced users.